Mic check 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Here we go, Cowboy Nation. Y'all already know what it is, and y'all already know who it is. It's your guy, Majestic Sounds. Y'all already know who it is. Here we go. We got a new head coach, and he is working on a coaching staff with Will McClay. Yeah. And Stephen Jones promised us that he's going to look at free agency, and we're going to be making moves in free agency this year. That's what they saying this offseason, baby. Hopefully and truthfully, I think they're going to do it. Yeah. Welcome to the Gridiron Sports Podcast. Y'all already know who it is. It's your guy, Majestic Sounds, baby. Yeah. So this past season, we didn't make it to the playoffs. Obviously, everybody know that, but yeah, we still headline every day in the news and social media. You know, it comes with the territory. It's the gift and the curse of being America's team and being a fan of America's team. We did have a few bright spots. We had a few players that stepped up due to injuries, and one of them is Jalen Tolbert. So I do want to talk about my guy Jalen Tolbert real quick. He had a very productive year, and so let's talk about that. Let's look at his numbers and what he was able to do this year. So if you look down here, 2024 season, he played all 17 games. He was able to grab 49 catches or receptions off of 79 targets. That's actually pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. He was able to get 610 yards, and his yards per catch 12.4, which is good, and a whopping 7 touchdowns. And I think he leads the entire team in touchdowns. I think he even have more touchdowns than CeeDee Lamb, and we're talking about receiving touchdowns. And then his longest reception for the year was 48 yard reception. That was probably doing either the New Orleans game or the Pittsburgh game. One of those two games, he had that 48-yard reception, and then he was able to get 29 first downs. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, that ain't nothing to sneeze at for a young guy, up-and-coming guy. He's only been in the league 3 years. As you can see, games played. His first year, he only played 8 games his first year. Last year, he played 17 games, and then, of course, this past season, he played 17 games. But he was able to grab 29 first downs. That says a lot, ladies and gentlemen. That's basically saying that the quarterback feels comfortable with throwing you the ball on third down, and you have become a security blanket, if you will, for your quarterback, the sure, reliable target. And so the chemistry he had with Dak Prescott this year was great before Dak Prescott's injury, and then the chemistry that he had with a Cooper Rush, and Rush we do trust. So, hey, I like what Jalen Tolbert was able to bring to the table as a young player. And let's not forget that he's not the number one option. CeeDee Lamb is the number one option on our team as far as receiving. I'm going to pull up here not only Jalen Tolbert stuff, but I'm going to put up the receivers as well and let you guys look at that. As you can see here are everybody who at least caught a pass for us, and even people who haven't caught a pass down at the bottom. But what I'm trying to bring to your attention is that CeeDee Lamb had 152 targets, so that was the number one option. Then Jake Ferguson had 86 targets, if you will. And then if you go down here to Brandon Cooks, because of his injury, he only had 54, but there was still a lot of targets, and Cavante had 52 targets. Now, let me tell you this, you guys, before the season even started, Jalen Tolbert was supposed to be maybe a third or fourth option, but as the year went on, Jake Ferguson got hurt, but he came back. He missed maybe 3 games at the most. I'm looking at here 14. So he missed 3 games at the most. And then you're looking at Brandon Cooks missed about, you could say, 7 games. Due to that, Jalen Tolbert had to step up. So you looking at Jake Ferguson missing 3 and Brandon Cooks missing essentially 7 games. So shout out to Jalen Tolbert. I want to make sure I give him his flowers. And you can see here his catching percentage, 62%. And like I said, he had the third most targets on the team. Now, it wasn't designed. They wasn't planning on that to happen, you guys. These folks getting hurt. But for him to step up and to do what he did, that's phenomenal. That ain't nothing to sneeze at. So 62% on catch percentage, 610 yards, 166 yak yards, 12.4 yards per catch, 35.9 yards per game, with a whopping 7 touchdowns. So, ladies and gentlemen, he did his thing. I don't care what nobody said about this young man. He stood tall in the midst of adversity. When teammates were injured, he stepped up and he showed up and he showed out. So receiving wise, he led the team with touchdowns. As you can see, and nobody else other than CeeDee Lamb is remotely close to having the amount of touchdowns that Jalen Tolbert had. He had 6 touchdowns. So he's the second target. Just take a look at these numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Take a close look. They got him number 2 on the list for a reason, because he was the second most productive guy. Although he didn't get more targets than Jay Ferguson, he was more productive than Jay Ferguson. And you know, the best ability is availability, and he was more available than Jay Ferguson, more available than Brandon Cooks. So most definitely a shout out to Jalen Tolbert for what he was able to do when the chips were down and we had injuries on the offensive side of the ball. So I want to give my boy Jalen Tolbert his flowers, ladies and gentlemen. Rightfully so, because he most definitely deserves it. Again, he's a young guy. It's only his 3rd year in the league, and I think he's progressing pretty good. I think he's coming along pretty good. I'm sure he doesn't know the whole playbook, but whenever his number was called, for the most part, he was there. You saw his targets and you saw his receptions. And if you watch any of the games, you saw what he was able to do out there on the field, even with a Cooper Rush at the quarterback position, how Jalen Tolbert, Jay Toll, was able to adjust to underthrown balls, able to high point balls, able to break tackles and get first downs. Like I mentioned, reliable on 3rd down, which is a rare commodity to find in a young wide receiver. So big shout out to Jalen Tolbert for that, for all he brought to the Dallas Cowboys this season. So I salute you, my brother. Keep doing your thing. Keep learning the playbook. Keep learning all the nuances and the ins and outs of being a wide receiver on a professional pro level. Shout out to Cavante Turpin for what he was able to do as well. Although he's mainly was a special teams guy, but when his number was called upon, he stood tall in the midst of those injuries we had, and he stepped in and did a phenomenal job as well. I most definitely want to make sure I give Jalen Tolbert his flowers today, ladies and gentlemen. That's my time. I truly thank you for your time. Listen, make sure y'all give us the thumbs up. Make sure y'all subscribe to this particular channel. Make sure you share it with a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a co-worker, a friend, an associate, a stranger, and even your enemy. And maybe, just maybe, y'all might just become cool after talking about the Dallas Cowboys. DC for life.